Today's guest is Dr. Anmol Kapoor. He's the CEO and founder of BioArrow, bioarrow.com, if you're curious. And we're having a conversation about owning and mastering your destiny when it comes to your health. What if you could know down to the very gene variant that you have, whether or not a vaccine, a medication, or even something that you're about to eat is about to impact you in a way that could negatively and adversely affect your health? I don't know about you, but whether you're a small business owner, and especially so if you're a small business owner, an entrepreneur, or just someone with a family, you need to be able to be at the cutting edge and understanding just how healthy you are so you don't run into an issue where, and I've had this personally myself, you have a health setback that it also becomes a financial setback, not just with medical bills, but the fact that you can no longer do what you used to do. From people who have treated their misdiagnosed, turns out, and Dr. Anmol Kapoor is a cardiologist, you should know. And then he went into biogenomics, and he's got all these people working with him, the best of the best, the cutting edge stuff. So the reason why I want to have this conversation for the Strategic Advisor Board podcast, and I promise I'll let him start talking really soon, is I know how important it is and how hard you work. So please take care of your health and consider the options that are now coming to light due to the cutting edge technology that we have. Take control of your health. Without further ado, Dr. Anmol Kapoor. I was wondering if you could just for a second open up a bit about your own personal journey and what made you go to the next level where you stepped into genomics and unleashing the next level of health for people, predictive health.
Well, thank you so much. It all started with some of my patient population from heart failure. As we know, people with heart failure, they have difficulty breathing, and the lungs will get filled up with water. We give them water pills. And usually there was a biomarker called NT-proBNP. And this biomarker is traditionally done in a hospital setting. And my patients just imagine they're drowning in water inside, they can't breathe. And I need to know this biomarker to help assess how the medication is progressing further. If they're having a lung problem, is a heart problem, what is making them worse? So I can make my treatment strategies accordingly. But I felt it's like a torture to those patients, people who are difficulty breathing to start with, right? And they are struggling. They don't know the answers, what to do. They're very frail, elderly sometimes. And then push them through this systemic torture. I didn't like it. I just wanted to find a way how I can get them this point of care testing at home, how I could make their life more comfortable, more easier, and how I could deploy digital health and these point of care testings and help the patient population. From this journey onwards, I had no idea how to do it. I knew I had to solve some problem. Yes, I'm practicing medicine, and all of us are good doctors. Yes, it creates a wealth, you have money. But then to me, it was beyond that. It is not a money issue. It is a human rights issue, and this an access issue for people. People who are not able to afford that testing, people who can are able to drive to the doctor office, people who are not able to get to the lab. So essentially, they have bad outcomes. They get into hospital, they die earlier. So I wanted to improve and disrupt the status quo into the lab industry. So that's led me to found a company, Cardiai. I had no idea how to make a device or what standards I have to follow. I just had an aim and a vision, and I wanted to do something. That's the only thing I knew. So then one by one, I started looking for people, some consultants, some researchers, some programmers, some non-dilutive funding from the government grants, and start on this journey trying to discover if we can do it, what we truly want to do it. That led us, the mindset as a doctor or as a human being, that we're always looking for question why certain people have certain diseases, why certain people react certain way, but not other ways. Many people who would come to me with heart failure, they would ask me, Dr. Kapoor, I did everything right. Why do I have heart failure? I was exercising, I was eating the right food, I was not drinking alcohol. I'm a really healthy person, and people will call me, and I can see myself properly healthy lifestyle following, but I still have a heart failure, and my heart is not pumping the full capacity, working half the time. And I had no answer. I used to call it idiopathic. And that's what the medical system term uses, idiopathic. Idiopathic means we have no clue why someone has a disease. And if we truly want to look smart in front of patients, we say autoimmune. What the autoimmune even means, that people have no idea. But a doctor looks smart in front of the patient, it's an autoimmune problem. And it is an idiopathic problem. And a patient may think it's a big word, but essentially mean is that doctor's an idiot and patients are pathetic because no one knows what's going on. So I was tired of saying the same thing as genetics, but we have to do more than that. Like we have to provide solution, real answer to those patient population. And me as a clinician, I need to know if the treatments I'm giving to the people are the right treatments. I came to know during my medical practices, many people I'm giving aspirin, low dose baby aspirin, and many are non-responders. I had no idea how to test them, but
Wow.
I'm giving it. Many people are still there's a practice there. So anywhere from 10 to 30% people are non-responders to aspirin. They may be taking, they're carrying the risk of bleeding for the stomach or ulcers, and they may not derive any benefit from a cardiology side. I also, over time, end up learning that statins are good medication. They do help patients, but they could also increase the risk for either diabetes or mental health problems or muscle problems. And there is a better way to lower the risk, and maybe combination way is better than the maximum dose way we are going ahead. So there are many things that are happening in science. Science is never perfect, and that's something I love about science. Is never perfect, and it should never be perfect because it let you play and discover and innovate and disrupt. So that's why that led me into genomics, multiomics, device side in Cardiai, because looking for those answers, how I could make people's life better and how I could make life better for patients who are coming to me and looking for answers. And it also helped me learn more about myself because it allowed me to see how's my DNA acting, what is my gut microbiome is doing, which drugs I should be taking or should be taking, because I did get a bad reaction to one of the antibiotics. I did end up getting a IgA vasculitis, which is one of the immune reactions happen. Thankfully, it didn't went ahead further. It could cause kidney failure, but thankfully it was a bad reaction from the antibiotic. So knowing genomically and pharmacogenomically, I think this is the right. It's a human right. Everyone should know that. I think the era where we are giving this full big normogram, letting people know, look, this is the drug, you take it, there are 100 side effects potentially you could have, and you go home. And we don't know which one of those 100 side effects you will have. And now patient will have to figure things out, and the symptoms happen, and doctor will have to figure out, are they linked to the medication or their disease or something we are missing, or maybe medication causing the new disease. We don't know. So I do believe, I think the precision health should be the human right issue. And if the healthcare is not delivered through precision health approach, I don't believe it's a healthcare. It is a sick care. I think we should get out of the sick care cycle, and we should be moving more toward precision health. Everyone is individual. Everyone is unique. And we know more about now than 10 years ago. So if we can deliver healthcare better, and in a way it reduces side effects and make their life better and quality of life better, uh, we should do it. So all of those things were burning in my mind and my heart that led me do what I'm doing today.
I see. And thank you for breaking all that down. I'm curious because a lot of people listening, they have families and a lot of entrepreneurs or small business owners tend to also overwork, which causes a bunch of stress, which causes a bunch of health problems, right? And so at any given time, not only are they not aware of their own current state, but then they have families and they don't know how their kids are doing. And like you said, you go to the hospital, and especially in America, you're lucky when you finally do get the appointment, if you have healthcare even, that they send you home with some medication, and that's that. And like you said, there's 100 side effects and you never know which one. And on top of that, you might even not respond to certain, like an NSAID maybe doesn't hit you the same way, or it causes other complications you don't know due to your genetic build. How difficult is it to get that information and be able to use that as reference? And do you have to go to specific hospitals once you have this information? Or is it because, a lot of hospitals don't like to share information with each other. So what does it look like on that side? Have you gone to address those problems?
Thank you. And it is a challenge, and I'm blessed that I'm in healthcare, but I truly feel people on the other side of that. It's a bad running system globally, and the patient rights have been crushed in many different ways. Patients have been not able to access the information. I believe people should have access to their records all the time, anywhere, anytime. I believe patients should own their records. I believe that patients should be able to profit from their own records, not someone else. And they don't know what is happening to their records. I believe that is democratic right. As a human being, we should be allow people that. But we somehow create barriers under the so-called privacy laws. The privacy laws sometimes end up favoring certain corporation or big corp or certain institution, but an average person run around looking for simple records. So there are barriers that exist. System creates that. And that still exists. So there are many ways hospital systems in America and other places, they're looking to monetize it. They are not the owner of the records. So by law in Canada, it's a patient who owns the record. Me as a doctor, I'm just a custodian. I'm not the owner of the record. So if I'm not the owner of the record, how can I sell someone's record? And I do believe people don't know this right. So many healthcare institutions, they do profit from it, someone else's information. As we know in social media, people profit from someone else's buying practices, the videos, the ads people run. So people understand it and they sell it to someone else. If something is free, you are the product. So, but patients don't know that. So I think this knowledge is very important and barriers do exist, but they can be broken down. You just have to be persistent. You keep asking the same question and you have the right to access those records and you have right to share those records with anyone you would want to do it. So yes, those struggles I had to go through it and those barriers do exist. But there is a way to break them and keep pushing limit. And we are doing that. And building a trust is very important. So that's why when we founded BioArrow company, I put on the website as part of the company, like as long as I'm the CEO of the company, we are never going to sell patients' data. It's a trust. I'm into healthcare business, or I'm into healthcare institution. I'm not a data selling company. And there may be time and dozen many other companies who believe in selling someone's data and getting the test done for free or cheaper. But that is not my intention and never was my intention because the trust of a patient that puts in you. And if you start selling their data, their assets is stealing and without them knowing. So if you truly want to do it, at least ask them and let them profit from the venture you want to take forward. So I do believe, I think, so from buyer perspective, that's what we have in the bylaws, and people trust that, and they know what is happening with the data, where we store the data, how they can access the data. So the transparency is very, very important. So I believe if we implement that in a countrywide or institution-wide, it helps you a lot. For example, in Alberta, in one of our provinces, public healthcare systems, Alberta being the only province in Canada, because in the US we have states, in Alberta, like in Canada we have provinces. So Alberta is one of the states. And it is one of the states we have a provincial health record system, and we have mobile application. And anyone can see any record going there free of cost. Anyone can see their blood test. As soon as they go to the lab, they get a lab work done for cholesterol, for potassiums, for hemoglobin, you name it, or thyroid function or hormonal function, they can see in their mobile application. They can see the reports from the x-rays, ultrasounds, doctor notes going into the one side. So initially, doctors were reluctant. Like some of my colleagues were reluctant. Oh, patient doesn't understand it. Potassium is this, or this blood work is this, biomarker is this. Oh, patient have no idea. Unnecessary calls will be coming to our offices. People don't know how to interpret the result. There'll be MRI and CT report there. People read it. They have no idea what that means. So all of those concerns were raised by some of my colleagues. And I was against that. I said, I don't think so. I don't believe people are that bad. They will not be able to understand the information. And since that access has been open, and I was quite vocal about that, so anyone in Alberta can access their health records. Anyone can access the lab work in real time. As soon as the results come there, they can see that. I have not seen people calling us for extra appointments. I have not seen people asking for referrals. I have not seen people asking Dr. Kapoor, tell me what the report says. Yes, They are smart enough, they can go online, they can understand it. There's a family doctor who can explain that. But we have not seen a system crashing and a flux of appointments coming in just to explain the reports to people. But in fact, what it became, it calmed people down. So if my appointments are 5 month wait time or 6 month wait time to follow up, but patients know that they can go see the report. Yes, Dr. Kapoor will have some time. He's busy. He will see me in 5 months. If it had been an emergency, he would have called me, but I can see my report. It looks okay. I'm going to see him, maybe ask some other question when I'm going to see him, because I've already seen the report. So breaking these barriers have so many benefits.
Yeah, 100% right on it being able to remove not just the barrier itself, but then once that barrier has been removed, it can actually make better use of the small amount of time you're actually allotted with your patients, which is always a thing, right? Especially in healthcare, you only have so much time due to insurances and what have you. It's like you said, it's a convoluted system. So any levels of transparency you can add helps, especially when one specialist has one report here, another one there. How are you supposed to do this to try to make sense of things? It really does help to have that. And you're taking it to the next level by then creating not only these lab reports from like blood samples and what have you, but you're adding genetic information to inform that as well, right? And now, why is that consequential?
Think of it this way. We have a blueprint of a home. And if you're going to buy a home without knowing a blueprint of it, we have no idea what could go wrong. And we are going to be working as a patch wave hit and trial approach. That's what the healthcare system is, the body is. We only go see a doctor when something's break down. And doctors can only screen for certain things. And there is 100 of things they miss it because they're not looking for it. If you're not looking for a criminal, you're not going to find that criminal. So by assuming there's no crime doesn't mean there's no crime happening in the body. So same way, genomic works. So genomic is essentially your blueprint of the blueprint of your body, of your health. If you don't know the foundation, just imagine a home. If you know everything about the blueprint, who conceived the house design, who was an architect, what material they put it in, what was a manufacturing company that brought this tap or plumbing pipe or a drywall or paint. Did they have any recall about that paint? Right. Did they have any lead in that paint? Did they have any recall in the pipe? Maybe some chemical plastic was there that was wrongly used, or glue that was wrongly used that is coming in your diet every day. You have no clue, just assuming everything is okay, but you have no clue until something breaks down. Then you get surprises. So if you know the blueprint of the whole home, then it's much easier to have a preventative care. So that's why genomic is a blueprint of the blueprint. And you need to understand the whole DNA, the whole genome. If you understand the whole DNA, that gives a clue to the next step happening in your body, that the cell level, the chemical level, the biological level, the organ level, because your genes regulate many of those things. And sometimes we do have some tendency of certain disease. Doesn't mean disease is going to happen. But if we know it, then we can create a proper plan for you. So we can catch before even disease happens. We can perhaps intercept that message. I give usually a simple analogy. Having a gene in the body of any disease is like having a criminal intent. I could have a criminal intent of committing a crime, but I have not committed the crime. So what police could do is police could observe me, monitor me. Yes, this person may have a criminal intent, but he has not done it yet, so they can't put me in jail. So they're monitoring me now. And so I may never commit crime. I may have an intent. Having intent is not a crime, but committing a crime is a crime. Things they can put me in jail. So they can monitor me. But at the same time, it's the environment that could trigger me commit the crime. So the environment could be road rage. Maybe I was exhausted. Maybe I was overburned. Maybe it's mental stress contributing to that. Maybe it's too much alcohol. Whatever the reasons could have been, that intent becomes a crime. Environment that triggers that situation. Same thing happens in the genes. Having a gene doesn't mean you're going to have a disease. But environment could be influencing that we call epigenetics. So if we can understand, we can control, then disease perhaps will never happen. And if disease does happen, then we know what is the right way to handle that person or that criminal or that the disease. So if we know the right drug, right approaches, we can help them. So a lot of time people go for MRI and CT scans. They have no idea. There's a lot of tumors or lesions that are discovered. They have no idea cancer or not cancer. They go unnecessary testing, unnecessary biopsies. But through genomics, we can tell 2 or 3 different things. We can tell, do they have any tendency for a crime, tendency for that cancer in that body? Second, we can detect a DNA cell floating in the blood because every cancer has its own DNA. And we can detect if there's any cancer cell floating in your blood. If there's no tendency, there is no cancer cells floating, why even take a risk for biopsy? Just monitor it properly. So why take unnecessary procedures? So genomics and DNA sequencing, cell-free DNA testing, gut microbiomics help us a lot. Today, one of the patients I saw, pleasant lady came in, symptoms of palpitations, shortness of breath, chest pain, going around, running around from doctor to doctor offices, and cardiac evaluation came back negative. Then I asked her, I said, sounds like your symptoms are related to IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. Her eyes got watery. I said, what happened? Yeah, Dr. Kapoor, you're the first person who diagnosed me like that. I know I have IBS. I'm struggling with IBS. I have these symptoms. I have anxiety. I have stress. I said, then maybe you should look into your gut microbiome. Maybe perhaps talk to people who are specialized in gut microbiome because roughly 80% dopamine we make in our stomach, there's a gut-brain axis directly linked. If we have a gut feeling, your gut feeling is our gut, we have a second brain in our stomach. If a stomach is upset, our mind will be upset. When we'll be feeling a bunch of symptoms around your body. So if IBS can be tackled in the right way, and what it requires is understanding the gut microbiome, the state of the microbiome in the stomach, which can be changed, which can be modified. Many people think in genetics you can't change anything. Epigenetic you can change. You can change the environment of the criminal intent. You can also change the microbiome in the stomach too. And by changing the diet, exercise, the mental health approaches, you truly can impact someone's life, make them better. We have lots of patients benefiting from it when we are bringing integrative health with microbiomics. And where they get to know more about their own body. They're running around the system, getting drugs and running around. Bunch of testing done, but nothing is going ahead. So that's why precision health is very, very important. I'm very passionate about that because it cut down the wait time. It cut down the running around time. So you know it from starting what could go wrong in your home, what could go wrong in your body, so people can help you or you can get self-help whenever you want.
It's really refreshing to hear a medical professional not be sold on treating a problem and instead curing a problem if possible, right? It's because many I know are tied to things that they might benefit from with like a larger pharmaceutical partnerships and relationships that they have, and it's got a chokehold on the industry in a lot of ways. So to hear you speak openly about exploring the possibilities and advancing the science, if you will, it's really refreshing. I imagine what I'm hearing is you envision one day everyone has access to this information so that when they do visit their primary care physician or a specialist that they were referred to, they can pull up the fact that they have a TN95 or whatever the name of the I don't know. I think I saw that in my 23andMe, which we'll get to in a second. They pull that up and you're like, oh, okay, this is also now historically known thanks to the advances in science that you shouldn't be taking this because you'll have a negative reaction, or you don't need that. What you actually need is this. Is this the future you envision, to have this kind of information for every individual so that they can advance potentially their health? Is this what you see one day?
It is coming and it's not that far away. And this year in May, we are launching one of the state-of-the-art software technologies, allowing people to download their genomic file into the system and get it analyzed in real time in less than a day. It is a medical and computing breakthrough. The team of scientists have made it happen, and we are launching the technology. And later on, people would be able to also do the same thing. You'll be able to download your DNA file or your exome file from anywhere on this earth. It's a raw file. You don't rely on the report. Always ask your raw file, like a computer file you have, or the video file you have. So ask a raw file, and you'll have, once you have a raw file, you'll be able to upload in the mobile application, and then let the AI algorithm do the analysis using computing power. And then through a mobile application, real time, you have in your hand. So now for the future, wherever you go, whichever doctor you'll see, before you put any drug in your mouth, any nutraceutical in your mouth, any chemical in your mouth, and you'll say, look, let me see, let me check my mobile application. Is it good for me or not good for me? What side effect I could potentially have? How I'm metabolizing? Look at a lot of time people, they have a pain problem and they get overdiagnosed and overdosed, and people get addicted because of that. Because genomically, some people are hyper-metabolizer. We metabolize very, very fast. It means the doctor is giving the low dose. Maybe we have to give a higher dose. Some people are hypo-metabolizer. It means they're metabolizing slow. Doctor may be giving the high dose, causing them more side effects, more addiction. So if we know the right dose and the right medication that could be helpful, imagine the side effects will be gone. Hundreds of thousands of people die every year in North America just because side effect of the medication. And that is coming. That's what Bio is committed. And we are going to launch this technology later this year. We're looking for people to start using it. And it is possible. It is here. And we'll want people to use it.
I know my partner and I are probably, she's probably going to want to be interested in this just because we've done the, and I'll bring, this is the last time I'll bring them up because they weren't useful. The other DNA test where it tells you your ancestry and this and that. And then they try to flirt with like what you may be more prone to, but there's other than the fact that it says you might be prone to it, that's all it says. Like, I might be more prone to celiac, it said, but it was like, I don't know anyone in my family who had it, but supposedly the gene is there. Right. And what does that mean? How does that inform me for my diet? Right. I think I took another company called like a Fitness Genes or something. And it said I metabolize caffeine really fast, or I'm like a dopamine warrior or something like that is the term they gave it. And it probably explains why caffeine doesn't really affect me the way that it does other people, where they get like nervous and shaky. But like, that's fun fact and like pop science. Like, who cares? How is that going to, I wish I would have known something useful for like why I had developed a tumor or this or that. Like, where did that come from? What created that? And I would love to see where BioArrow does this and I can have it on the app. And is it going to be as simple as going online, creating an account and being able to do all that?
Pretty much. And how we're building the technology is we're not building technology that people have to get the test done from BioArrow. People can get the test done from any lab globally, and they just have to get the raw file. Raw file comes in two different ways. We call FASTQ file, which is a very, very raw. One is called VCF file. So people have to access either of those files, which they have a right to access from the genetic company or any sequencing company. Not just to get the PDF file, get the raw file. Once you have the raw file, you own it. It's your record. It's your DNA copy. And then you'll be able to upload this file through a mobile application. It's like uploading any document. Wow. Literally uploading any document, any video file or any file. And then after that, let the AI algorithm create a prep plan for you. And then there'll be your mobile application access in front of you. And for the rest of your life, you'll know which drugs are good or bad for you. And the beauty of the system is it continuously gets updated in the future. So today, if you know the side effects, say a statin causing potential diabetes risk, tomorrow maybe it has some other thing we can discover. So it'll be keep updating in the background. So you don't have to be worried about it. It'll be a subscription model with a nominal fee. People will be able to at least, again, follow, they know and truly what is happening. And they master their destiny. So they truly don't have to get a test from BioArrow. Technology will be so democratic in a way. From anywhere on this earth, people will be able to access the service and make it affordable, easier, and they can follow through for their family, for their kids. We have some families, they got this DNA sequencing done at birth of their babies. Wow. And any vaccine, any drug, and anything happening in their body, so they want to look from genomics angle. They want to make sure that it's safe before they give it. So they are literally following that trend, and I see lots of parents are doing that. So people ask me sometimes, what age I should get done? There's no old age or young age. Whenever you start, you start immediately. You start discovering. That's what I can tell them.
This is amazing. And it's more than just a saliva sample, right? This is like a deeper than that, like a blood sample and all that.
Thank you for saying that word. Thank you for saying that. In my scientific opinion, never trust a whole DNA analysis done on saliva. Okay.
Thank you.
Never, because you don't get that depth of that sample, the somatic variation. There's so many, because when we take a blood sample, we get lots of dead DNA cells, right? So your body, so your DNA, and it comes from various parts of the body floating in your blood. So then we are able to go, when you sequence it, it's like drilling a hole under the ground. So if you're just doing a saliva sample, you can only drill up to a certain level. But if you have a blood-based sample, you can drill much, much deeper, and you can look at many different variations, many different way of mutations possible, which is not possible to saliva-based. Yes, you can, but you can get a highly false negative rate to saliva versus getting a blood-based. So never trust, in my opinion, saliva-based whole genome test. Blood-based genome test is the best gold standard.
I'm really curious about the future of this because for a while I was reading into some research on like blood type diets even, and they were trying to tie it to genomics as well at some point. Like for example, me being O positive, and it being more beneficial for me to stick to more of a Paleolithic diet and whatever that can be fashion and trendy. But the truth is, maybe there are foods that trigger certain create epigenetic experiences, right? By having that in your environment and eating too much carbohydrate or what have you, or whatever is in there. So I'm actually really curious about the future of this, like everything that you're doing
Let
with
me
bio.
let me share you something. Few examples I shared with you on this topic, and one is on caffeine. We had a patient, Italian background, and he was start to work a lot and start and end up drinking too much coffee to stay alert, and he was getting work to be done, business to be set up, and he suddenly started developing some reactions to certain things, certain foods, and becoming allergic, developing hives and tiredness. He went around and saw many doctors, many different ways, and everyone kept saying, remove this diet, that diet, remove this milk or gluten, this and that. So the guy was just running around. And then we did a whole genome sequencing for him. We discovered that he does the way he metabolizes coffee, which is true, is different than the other person. But what was happening in his body was he was triggering an eosinophilic reaction. So it's an allergic reaction to over compensation to caffeine. He was not metabolizing properly, plus he's creating an allergic reaction in his own body. And the body was reacting not only to caffeine, it was reacting to every other allergens around it coming in the body. So it was caffeine that was a trigger, but he was showing to allergies to everything else around. So once we remove the caffeine out, he started eating everything back in his life, and no reaction happening.
My
So
goodness.
you can truly can be precise as much as I can give you an example right now. He's a real life patient, and he's enjoying all his foods now again. He's just not drinking too much coffee. He's just limiting the coffee intake.
You know what? That's
That
funny
is precise.
because I've had skin reactions I couldn't put my finger on. It like light little blemishes all over me
Yeah,
that
yeah,
seem like an
yeah.
allergic. And I drink a lot of caffeine, and I don't remember when it started, but I think it was around the same time as caffeine because I wasn't always like that. I thought it was the soap I was using.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of lifestyle quality of life that can change from having this information, and you're making it your mission to make that available to us. So my question to you
Exactly.
then is, where do you want people to go and connect with you and learn more about what you're doing?
Well, the people can go to bioarrow.com, and they can always call, and they can access services globally from anywhere. It's available. We'll be entering US market this summer, and we'll be opening our lab in the Bay Area. We have acquired a lab, and we're just finishing the final stage of acquisition. The press release will be going soon. We want everyone to have an access to technologies and in the lab services in an affordable manner. At the same time, we are looking to also help people in athletes and sports people. In personal story, I can share that when I got my whole genome analyzed by Genomics expert we have in our company, and she told me that, Dr. Kapoor, you'll have a difficulty building muscle, but you could improve your endurance. Because genomically, some people, the way polygenic scores, she ended up making a formula and calculations along the way. That is to muscle building. If I'm really trying to make it, I really have to work extra hard than other people. But if I try to push cardio, I can really excel a lot versus other people. So I never knew that, and I knew that I was trying to make muscle some days. It will not last longer. Like I would exercise, make something, it'll go away if I don't exercise as much. So to maintain it, I have to keep exercising more often than my friends or my cousins. So there's every person is individual and unique. So knowing is power, and you can then improve your lifestyle, your exercise tolerance. So all of those services are available at bioarrow.com. They whatever the problem they have, what are the question they have, just talk to the team of scientists. They can help you.
This is amazing because we do have some former NFL athletes in the community who not only host their own episodes on this show, but who, are looking to transition and find the cutting edge. And they're always, this is just a natural athlete is always trying to keep their body in peak performance. So it's really fascinating. I hope one day I get the opportunity to somehow connect you with, I think, one of the most fascinating builders of all time in their body, and that's like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Wouldn't that be one hell of a conversation to have with him, who was Mr.
Oh, that
Olympia,
that we love it. And in fact, we'll get her DNA, his DNA sample analyzed by our Institute genomics expert. She's a PhD and a lot of experience in this area. And truly deep dive into it. Essentially, what I have learned from her was that everyone metabolizes lactic acid differently. Everyone heals muscle differently because muscle breaks down when you exercise and rebuilds after that. And everyone, if you're not rebuilding the right way, metabolizing the right way, not looking after your body the right way, you'll have injuries more often. The more injuries you have, meaning, and the shorter your sports span will be, the life period when you can be active as a sports person. So for players, very, very important. And we are going to launch a new program soon called Biosports, targeting those athletes, those performance athletes. So just an average person who wants to stay active and who's looking for some answers and do safely. Because a lot of time kids go for exercise and some do die, unfortunately, on the field or have a cardiac arrest. So we can provide them information in a safe manner. We have Team Canada athletes right now from speed skaters. They're using multi-omics approaches to help improve their output.
Wow. No, this is big. And one last thing that I think you're going to be able to be a part of the change of that is I recently learned that a lot of medicine has been developed and optimized for men's bodies more than anything in terms of medical research. And I only recently came to learn that the reason why often there are extra side effects for women has a lot to do with the medicine. The medicine just simply wasn't researched enough to see the effects on women. And I believe, based on the implications of what you're telling me that BioArrow is going to be doing, it's going to open up the world to being able to optimize medicine for women in particular as well. And that sounds amazing. Is this accurate?
It is accurate. Clinical studies, the clinical stars, now they're seeing more diversity, but many clinical studies and trials have been done. They're underrepresenting minorities, mainly underrepresenting women. And women are different than men. We know that now, but we knew that before. Yes, scientifically, we're proving it, women are different than men. Yes, they are. And they react to drugs differently. They react to, as you can know, more women had long COVID-7 than men. More women get a couple episodes of fainting spells than men. There are some predispositions that are different for women than men. So we have to be cognizant of that, and we have to include them in our clinical studies and trials. And we should have a clinical study and trial with multi-ethnic variation. Even the genomic side, initial genome reference genome was focused on European population.
Right.
But my DNA is different than your DNA, and someone from Mexican or African
Yeah.
background DNA is different. If I'm going to match an African person's DNA to the white Caucasian person's DNA, it's a wrong report will be coming out.
Yeah.
So we have to be aware of those variations. We have to include them in our studies so we can be more accurate in our clinical trials, drug discoveries, and have less side effects. Something that perplexed me when I talk to them, getting to know more about themselves, especially from genetic perspective, this fear of unknown, and they get scared somehow. The scariness is for them. There's something I may have. There's something here. I might have my cancer risk. I may have a dementia risk. I don't want to know because it's going to cause me more anxiety, causing more stress. I don't want to know if I'm dying. But I
Immigrants are
tell them,
actually pretty common. Like my father was like that. My uncles are like that. No, I'm not going to go to the doctors. I know they're going to find something wrong with me.
yeah, and I tell them it's not that. We are not telling you you're going to die or anyone's going to die. It's like this is data. Like when you go see a doctor, get your blood cholesterol done, when you get your mammogram done, colonoscopy done, it's the same way. It's another data set looking at your health from different perspective, and no one's telling you you're dying. In fact, they're going to tell you how we can keep you alive and happy and healthy forever and ever and ever. So I want people to first get this fear out. They're afraid of it. Somehow knowing and this anxiety, that fear comes in, that what if they feel helpless? What will happen to their lifetime? What if they were denied a healthcare access or insurance access? So a lot of fears are out there. I do believe we need to break those fears down, tear those doubts down. Genomic is empowering. Genomic is the only truth. In fact, it is the only truth you should do. You start from genomics, then you add an MRI, CT, colonoscopy. So somehow, if you can get this message out to people, knowing is power. So don't be afraid. No one is going to die. No one is going to be telling you you're going to grant you to have a cancer. No one is going to tell you anything like that. In fact, is remove all the anxieties, all the worries. You know the truth. Once you know the truth, is peace.
This is such a powerful conversation, and I want to leave it there because I know it's enticing now. For anyone who's listening, again, you said bioarrow.com, that you'll be entering the US market this summer, you said?
Yes, please.
Oh, this is amazing. So you heard it here first. They just secured, by the way, congratulations, their lab. It's going to be exciting. I'll have to make a trip up there. San Francisco's not that far. It's a 6-hour drive for me from Los Angeles. So we'll have to make that happen. And again, I can't thank you enough for making the time today.
Thank you so much.